Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mundane Matt, and over the course of the weekend, you might have seen the trailer for the new Scarlett Johansson hangover ripoff, Rough Night. Now, this movie not only stars Scarlett Johansson, stars Jilian Bell from Workaholics and 22 Jump Street, stars Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live and the schlock fest that's known as Ghostbusters, Ilana Grazer from Broad City, and Zoe Kravitz, who I do believe is related to Lenny Kravitz, but other than that, I know nothing about her. The movie is very much a hard R, dark comedy that's female-led, written, and directed. And the trailer has been getting very mixed results depending on who you talk to. Now, I watched the trailer, and my first immediate thought was, didn't I already see this movie back in 1998 when it was under the original title Very Bad Things? Which, if you haven't seen that movie, holy goddamn shit. Peter Berg's dark comedies starring Christian Slater, Jon Favreau, Cameron Diaz, Daniel Stern, Jeremy Piven, a whole bunch of other people, is just an insanely twisted, dark story of 5 men in Las Vegas for a bachelor party accidentally killing a hooker and then dismembering her body and dumping it in the desert and the fallout from that. This movie doesn't go as dark as Peter Berg's movie did, but it definitely has 5 women in Miami doing drugs. Male stripper comes over and he accidentally dies when Jilian Bell jumps on him and he breaks the chair. He hits his head. He dies. And then, of course, the rest of the trailer is a mishmash of scenes, I guess somewhat showing us what happens. Other people get involved. I'm assuming it's going to probably be the stripper's pimp, or security, or service, or whatever, and, hijinks will ensue. Now, keep in mind, all we have on this trailer right now is just that. I mean, I even showed it to my girlfriend, and she was like, it's not getting the traction that I think a lot of people wanted it to get, never mind the talent that's behind it. Which leads me to kind of ask the question that's the title of this video. Is Rough Night 2017's Ghostbusters? Now, the reason why I bring this up is because we all know how contentious Ghostbusters was. The first trailer came out, it sucked ass. The following trailers came out, they sucked ass. And the attack on the people complaining about the movie really fueled a lot of the dissent towards it, which I do believe really played into how poorly the movie did at the box office, never mind the fact that it was a god-awful waste of fucking digital film. This movie, on the other hand, isn't necessarily having that particular fight just yet, but I do believe that it's coming, especially the closer we get to its release. Now, this one comes out in the summertime, and right now, not a lot of people really seem to like it. And that's not just men who don't find women funny. All right, this is literally people who are feminists who are coming out and attacking this film for a multitude of reasons, most of which has to do with the fact that they kill a male stripper. All right, you have feminist writer Chelsea G. Summers on Twitter saying, I don't know, how about not murdering sex workers for the lulz? Because being a stripper is considered sex work. I do believe that's very much a topic that's open for debate. I did actually look into this a little bit. I was curious to know whether or not they do qualify. And according to Wikipedia, and again, you could take that source with a grain of salt or not, it's entirely up to you. But they say that when it comes to sex work, it's mostly prostitutes, those forced into it, those who participate in pornographic video or photography. But when it comes to dancing, not so much. In fact, strippers and dancers, they tend to do what they call othering, which is basically they're snobby cunts. That's the best way to describe it. They think that they're higher in the order of things. They drink tea with the pinky out when it comes to everyone else. They don't consider themselves part of that particular sex trade. And I would actually relatively agree with that. There's no, depending on what club you go to, especially, in the United, I would say pretty much in the United States, prostitution outside of one small area of Nevada is illegal. So when you go to some strip clubs, there's like a 6-foot rule. In Florida, many, many, many years ago, there was a 6-foot rule. You couldn't get a dance unless a girl was 6 feet away from you. All right. So in no way, shape, or form is that considered sex work? Now, granted, it very much kind of runs along the lines of it, because you figure it's them being naked, them using their bodies in order to elicit a sexual response from the man or woman who pays them money for the dance. I understand that, and at no point in time am I demeaning anyone involved in either stripping or the pornographic arts, or who likes to do sex for money. And it's on the up and up, not forced prostitution, but you know what I'm talking about. So, again, you can kind of see that there is a divide there. And it's not just this one author. There's many feminists out there that are attacking this movie for how it's killing a sex worker. Never mind that it's a male sex worker. That never actually comes up. The gender of the person never actually comes into play. It's all about, oh, you're minimizing people who do sex work. Well, again, they're not really doing sex work. Now, in the movie Very Bad Things, they ended up getting a prostitute who did stripping, or she was a stripper and then she offered up prostitution on the side. So that would be considered sex work. Now, in this movie, I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point, because from what the trailer showed us, it looked like the dude was just sitting there and she jumped on him and it was that. So we have no way of knowing whether or not there was going to be money for sex. That could be later on in the script. But for right now, pretty much the argument stipulates that the guy's not a sex worker, but he's a stripper. So there's that. So they're fighting back against this movie. And this is a kind of movie that normally they would be championing. So I'm curious to see if the progressive liberal bloggers out there, and God damn it, I really hate using those terms, but I wonder if those guys are going to come out in defense of this movie. Now, keep in mind, like I said, the narrative from a lot of the hard feminists right now are attacking it. And because people who aren't really, maybe who hated Ghostbusters because it did star women, they're hating it as well. Or people who just didn't find it to be funny are disliking it as well. There's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation going on. And I'm wondering, had it been well received by feminists and people out there were disliking the trailer, if there would be a pushback. Because keep in mind, that pushback from the media is very much one of the key factors that led into the whole Ghostbusters debacle from last year, and one that I will admit I covered pretty fucking extensively. So I look at something like this, and I just have to kind of laugh my ass off. Because this, again, what they're essentially doing here, the feminists, is they're saying the only humor that is allowed is what we deem it to be. If you mock someone or you make fun of something, it can't be a certain group or it can't be a certain way, because that is wrong, right? It's very much wrong think applied to this movie, and it could actually very much tank it. Now look, the trailer wasn't very good, all right? It looked like a tired old trope movie, 5 women in Miami instead of 5 men in Las Vegas. Lots of drugs, all the talking about dick, or in the case of Hangover, the strippers and stuff, or Very Bad Things, the strippers and everything else. And that's, again, it's kind of like you can see that there's a dichotomy there between the two, or parallels between the two. But you can very much tell that this is a situation where it's stop laughing at the jokes, guys. Don't laugh, it's not funny. And, well, it's not funny because it's just not funny. The content could be funny. Could easily be funny. Could be very entertaining if it was handled in a much more, I don't know if I want to say direct, but maybe the trailer was cut bad. And that's why I'm going to definitely withhold judgment on this thing, right, until I see another trailer or something that gives us a little bit more of what's going to happen. Because just based on first impressions, I wasn't impressed. And I went and saw a Ghostbusters opening day. I mean, like the preview night showing of it. Because I felt that after all the shit I talked about it, that I would probably feel I needed to see it, to see if I was correct, and I was. So this is a movie that I do feel can definitely become the same kind of you could say, I guess, point of contention for coming into the movie season. Although at the same time, to be fair, it may not, only because this is not a reboot of a beloved franchise. This is a rehash of ideas from the 1990s and then the late 2000s and the late aughts, whatever you want to call it. So it may not have that kind of cultural impact. In fact, well, I mean, to be fair, it doesn't even come remotely close to that level of cultural impact. And I'm not trying to talk about that from the perspective of Ghostbusters versus this new property. I mean, like the audience response to it. Whereas Ghostbusters, people disliked it because it looked bad, and then the feminists and the liberal media came out and they were just all like, no, you're sexist if you don't like this. But I'm not hearing anything about that in regards to this. So this is very much a wait and see scenario, but I wanted to posit the idea because I want you guys out there who pay attention to this kind of stuff to see what the rumblings are. I'm going to pay attention because I'm very curious to see if we're going to get a repeat of last year. But right now, simply because it is an enemy of my enemy situation, I don't think we are. But I still wanted to be food for thought for you guys. So what are your thoughts on this? Did you see the Rough Night trailer? Does it look like shit? Right? Looks like shit. Do you think it has the ability to create as much of a cultural backlash as Ghostbusters did last year? Or do you think we just kind of spent our load entirely fighting over that movie? These are things I am generally curious about, so go ahead and write them down in the comments. I do want to know your guys' thoughts on this, and I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Oh yeah, thumbs up the video, subscribe if you're new, check back often for content from me. Have a good one, and peace out.